The planet Vuloria floated like a bright jewel in the quiet space around it. Its forests glowed with soft colors at night, and its rivers carried light inside the water as if tiny stars lived within every drop. The fox folk who lived on this world had protected it for thousands of years. They loved peace, knowledge, and balance. Their empress was wise and calm, and her daughter Princess Leora grew up surrounded by beauty and tradition. Leora had soft silver markings across her face that shimmered when the sun touched them, and her long fox tail moved behind her with natural grace. Everyone respected her, but she was not known for a warm heart. She carried a cautious view of outsiders, especially humans. From a young age Leora had heard many stories about humans. Traders who visited Vuloria brought tales of human colonies fighting over resources, ships crossing borders without permission, and people racing to claim land on new planets. Leora listened to these stories with wide eyes and felt a slow belief grow inside her. She began to think humans were always ready to take more than they gave. She had never met a human herself, but she trusted the stories told by others. As she grew older, she formed a strong opinion that humans were greedy by nature. Many fox elders tried to explain that not every species could be judged by the actions of a few groups. Leora never agreed with them. She believed she could see the truth clearly even without meeting a single human. Life inside the palace was calm and controlled. Leora trained in ancient arts, learned the history of the galaxy, and spent long hours studying healing, diplomacy, and energy techniques passed down from past generations. She was talented and intelligent, but her thoughts about humans stayed unchanged. Whenever the palace announced news about the outside world, Leora always asked the same question. Are any humans involved? And her tone always carried doubt. One peaceful morning everything changed when the Empress called for an important meeting. Leora entered the Hall of Light, a grand room shaped like a circle with tall shining pillars that reflected the sky. Important leaders stood around the Empress, all waiting for her to speak. Leora felt a strange tension in the air. Something unusual was happening. The Empress lifted her hand and the room fell silent. Her voice carried calm strength as she spoke. A group of human explorers is on their way to Vuloria. They travel under peaceful purpose. They want to open friendly communication and request a small cultural exchange. Leora tried to keep her expression still, but her tail lowered slightly. She felt a mild jolt of disbelief. Humans coming here. Humans asking for peace. She waited for someone to question the idea or reject the invitation, but the leaders around her nodded and accepted the message with curiosity. The Empress continued. They will arrive in 2 days. I will welcome them at the palace gates. You will join me, Leora. I want you to see this moment with your own eyes. Leora bowed her head because she could not refuse an order from her mother, but inside she felt uneasy. She did not want to meet humans. She believed she already knew everything important about them. In her thoughts humans arrived with friendly words only when they needed something. She was certain they carried hidden desires behind each smile. The 2 days passed slowly for Leora. She spent them walking through the gardens trying to calm her mind. She watched the glowing flowers open and close with the movement of the sun. She listened to the quiet water that fell from the floating fountains. Everything around her was peaceful, but she could not shake the feeling that her world was about to shift. She wondered what humans would look like close up. She imagined cold eyes that always measured what they could gain. She imagined them speaking in polite voices while thinking about the next thing they could request. Leora prepared herself to see the greed she believed all humans carried. On the day of arrival the palace ground was filled with soft morning light. The air was cool and carried a gentle scent from the silver trees. Palace guards stood in structured rows wearing armor that shimmered in pale blue. The Empress waited with her calm posture, her long robe falling behind her like soft flowing light. Leora stood beside her, trying to appear neutral even though her thoughts were restless. A silver human ship descended slowly from the sky with controlled movement and landed on the open field. Its shape was smooth and clean, built for peaceful travel and scientific work. The ship opened and a group of human explorers walked out. Some carried tools and devices, others carried containers filled with gifts or samples. They looked around with interest and admiration for the beautiful world they had stepped onto. To Leora's surprise, none of them looked greedy or proud. They looked humble. They bowed with respect toward the Empress and greeted the fox folk with warm voices. Leora watched each face closely, searching for signs of selfish intention. She still felt certain she would find them. She always believed humans could hide their real thoughts well behind friendly behavior. Then her eyes stopped on one particular human standing slightly behind the rest. He was young with calm features. His hair was dark, and his expression was thoughtful rather than excited. He did not rush to step forward or try to speak first. Instead, he looked around with gentle curiosity, as if he wanted to understand the world fully before doing anything. His name was Evan. Leora learned this when the group introduced themselves. Evan did not speak much. He simply greeted the Empress with a respectful nod and stepped back again. The Empress welcomed the explorers to Vuloria and invited them inside the palace for a cultural ceremony. During the walk through the palace halls, the humans admired the glowing murals and floating lanterns that filled the air with gentle light. Leora walked behind them, listening to their whispers of amazement. She felt puzzled by their honesty. They seemed excited to learn and observe instead of asking for something. Still, she reminded herself not to trust appearances. Inside the Hall of Harmony, everyone gathered in a circle. The Empress explained that Vuloria followed a tradition of offering a simple wish to peaceful visitors as a sign of trust. The wish had to be harmless and small. Humans would be allowed to ask for one thing each that could be granted safely. Leora waited with quiet confidence for the moment when a human would reveal their true nature. She imagined someone asking for rare energy stones or powerful tools or access to secret fox knowledge. One by one, the humans stepped forward. Their wishes were simple. One asked for a sample of glowing water from Vuloria's river to study energy patterns. Another asked to learn a song used in healing rituals. Another requested permission to sketch the palace architecture for a cultural archive. Leora watched them with surprise but kept telling herself that the selfish request would appear soon. Finally, Evan stepped forward. He looked calm but serious. When he spoke, his voice carried gentle sincerity. "I do not want anything for myself. I only ask for help for a small village far from all major worlds. The village has humans and other species living together. A natural disaster harmed their homes and supplies. They have no support. If Vuloria can send healing tools or energy crystals to help them recover, it would save many lives." The room fell silent. Leora stared at Evan, waiting for him to add something for himself. A reward. A trade. A hidden gain. But nothing came. He simply bowed his head and stepped back without asking for credit or advantage. The Empress studied him with interest. "Your request is selfless," she said. "It will be granted. To show our respect, Leora will travel with you to deliver the aid." Leora felt her breath catch. She had not expected to be sent with a human traveler. She also had not expected a request like this. For the first time, a small crack appeared in her firm belief. She tried to convince herself it was still a trick. She told herself Evan must be trying to earn trust before asking for something larger. She decided she would watch him closely during the journey. She was sure the truth would show itself soon. As the humans prepared to leave for the day, Leora stood near the balcony and watched Evan speak to a few fox scholars. He asked questions about healing crystals and energy shields, but only to understand how they could help the damaged village. He showed no sign of wanting anything for himself. Leora felt an unusual conflict rising inside her. Her belief had never been questioned so strongly before. She did not like the feeling. She preferred being certain. When the sun set, the palace lights glowed softly across the open fields. Leora walked alone through the quiet halls, thinking about everything that happened. She tried to hold on to her old view, but the image of Evan's honest expression kept returning to her mind. She knew the journey ahead would test her thoughts even more. She had no idea how much it would change her life and her understanding of the human heart. The night grew deeper around Vuloria, but inside Leora a new sense of wonder slowly began to form. The meeting with the explorers had not gone the way she expected. Her world felt slightly shifted. And for the first time she wondered if her belief about humans might not be as unbreakable as she once thought. The morning sky over Vuloria was painted with soft shades of gold and purple as the first light of dawn touched the floating gardens of the palace. Princess Leora stood on the balcony, her silver hair catching the sun's glow, and looked out toward the horizon where the human ship had docked the day before. The air was quiet except for the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant flow of the luminous river. She could see the small crew of humans preparing for their journey to the distant village. Leora's heart beat with a strange mixture of curiosity and caution. She did not fully trust humans, but the wish of the young human named Evan had unsettled her thoughts. It was unlike anything she expected. It carried no selfish desire, no greed, no hidden aim. Only concern for others. When the time came, the Empress entered the room with calm authority. Her robes shimmered with soft light and her voice carried warmth. Leora followed behind her as they walked toward the docking area. The Empress addressed Evan directly. "Your request will be granted. Leora will accompany you to the village and ensure your wish is fulfilled." Evan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said softly. "I will do everything I can to help the people there." The humans prepared their supplies carefully. Containers of healing tools, energy crystals, and medical supplies were loaded onto the ship. Each item was chosen with care, nothing unnecessary was added. Leora watched the meticulous planning with a mixture of suspicion and intrigue. How could someone ask for so much good without expecting anything in return? She decided to observe Evan closely during the journey to understand his true nature. She stood on the ship's observation deck as the engines powered up, feeling the vibration beneath her feet. Vuloria's forests and rivers shrank below them as the ship lifted gently into the sky. The journey was long, stretching across star systems and uncharted space lanes. Leora spent her time watching the stars and studying the humans. She noticed the simplicity of their interactions. They spoke politely, laughed quietly, and worked together as a team without conflict. None of them seemed greedy. None demanded special attention or privileges. Leora tried to find a flaw, some hidden selfishness, but she could not. Evan, in particular, acted with calm focus. He studied the ship's navigation charts and calculated fuel efficiency, ensuring the journey would be safe and smooth. He asked for advice from the Fox scholars accompanying them, but only to understand how to help the distant village. His questions were practical, not self-serving. Leora's mind, which had once been filled with certainty about human greed, began to feel uncertain. One evening, the ship passed through a nebula glowing with gentle pink light. The sight was breathtaking. Stars scattered like diamonds through clouds of cosmic dust. Leora stood beside Evan, silent, watching the wonder of the universe. For a moment, she forgot her doubts. The beauty of the cosmos stretched endlessly, and she realized that humans could also appreciate it without selfishness. Evan turned to her and pointed out patterns in the nebula, explaining how the light interacted with the energy fields of passing ships. He spoke without pride, only sharing knowledge with care. Leora felt a small warmth in her chest. She had expected humans to only take, but here was one who only gave. During the journey, the ship encountered minor challenges. A sudden gravitational fluctuation caused the vessel to tilt sharply. Leora braced herself, expecting panic, but Evan calmly adjusted the navigation. He guided the ship through the disturbance with skill and patience. Other humans followed his instructions efficiently, showing respect for each other and for Leora, who watched in silent amazement. She realized that true leadership was not about power or dominance but about care and attention to the well-being of others. Evan's wish for the village had revealed his character in ways words could not. After several days, the ship approached the distant system where the village was located. Leora felt a strange mixture of nervousness and anticipation. The village lay in a small valley surrounded by rocky hills. From space, she could see damaged buildings, broken bridges, and fields that had been destroyed by recent storms. Smoke rose from a few controlled fires, where villagers worked to restore warmth. The sight was heartbreaking. Leora's heart, usually guarded, tightened at the suffering she saw. Evan stood beside her and quietly explained what he knew of the village. Many species lived together, including humans, fox-folk descendants who had traveled centuries ago, and other alien groups. The natural disaster had left them struggling for survival. Evan's first wish was not for comfort or reward but to help these beings recover. Leora could not hide her surprise. She had never seen a human so selfless. The ship landed gently on a clear area near the village. Villagers rushed to greet the newcomers, their faces showing hope and curiosity. Leora observed them carefully. They seemed cautious but grateful. Some children ran forward to touch the glowing crystals being carried from the ship, fascinated by the light. Others helped unload supplies, working together without direction. Leora noticed how naturally humans could cooperate with each other and with other species when the intention was to help, not to gain. Her old belief about humans being greedy began to weaken with every passing moment. Evan did not wait for instructions. He immediately began organizing the aid. He assigned tasks, checked the condition of supplies, and made sure energy crystals were activated to provide warmth and healing. Leora followed him reluctantly at first, but soon she found herself drawn into the work. She taught villagers how to use the healing tools and demonstrated simple energy techniques to restore crops and water supplies. The villagers watched her with fascination and respect, learning quickly. Leora realized that humans were not the only ones capable of learning. Cooperation between species could achieve more than any individual's ambition. She felt a sense of purpose she had not experienced before. During the work, Leora observed Evan closely. He moved with quiet confidence, speaking to everyone with respect and patience. He helped repair a damaged bridge, guided children to safe areas, and comforted frightened villagers without showing fatigue or frustration. Every action was deliberate, every gesture kind. Leora began to understand that humans could possess qualities that she had never imagined. Her judgment had been based on stories, not experience. She felt a strange mixture of humility and admiration. The belief she had held so strongly for years began to crack. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Leora and Evan worked together to repair a water pump that had been damaged by the storm. Villagers watched silently, impressed by their cooperation. Leora noticed the way Evan treated every being, human or alien, with equal care. He asked for their thoughts, listened carefully, and incorporated their ideas into the repair plan. Leora could not remember a time when she had seen such humility. She realized that leadership was not about commanding others but about serving them. Her heart softened further, and she began to see humans as individuals rather than a single greedy species. The first day of work ended with a quiet celebration. Villagers shared food, music, and stories. Leora sat quietly, observing the unity of the community. Humans and other species mingled naturally, their differences forgotten in the joy of shared effort. She watched Evan laugh with children, his smile gentle and sincere. Leora felt a warmth she had never felt before. She realized that Evan's first wish had done more than provide aid. It had revealed the potential for kindness, cooperation, and understanding across species. Her certainty about humans had been replaced by curiosity and respect. As night fell, Leora walked to a hill overlooking the village. Stars sparkled above, reflecting in the repaired rivers and glowing fields. She thought about the journey ahead and the work yet to be done. She also thought about Evan. He had shattered her belief with a single act of selflessness. She could not deny it. Her mind was open in a way it had never been before. She understood that humans, like any species, could choose their path. Some might be greedy, but others could be brave, kind, and selfless. Leora felt a sense of hope that she had never experienced. Perhaps the universe was not as predictable as she had once believed. The night grew calm, and the village slept under the gentle glow of energy crystals. Leora stayed awake, thinking about what she had seen and learned. She knew the next days would bring more challenges, but she felt ready. Evan's first wish had changed more than the village, it had changed her. She realized that trust and understanding were the first steps toward true cooperation. Her heart, once closed to humans, began to open. She understood that judgments based on stories were weak compared to lessons learned through experience. The journey ahead would test her further, but she felt prepared to face it with an open mind and a willing heart. Leora finally returned to the village center to rest. The soft glow of the repaired energy crystals lit her way. Villagers greeted her with gratitude and respect, showing that kindness could create connection across species. She watched Evan move among the people, always careful to ensure that no one was left behind. She realized that his wish had been more than a request for help. It was a demonstration of a universal truth: generosity and care could transform even the most difficult situations. Leora's heart felt lighter. She knew that the path she had once thought was clear and simple had changed forever. As she drifted into sleep, Leora thought about the first day in the village and about the human who had shattered her belief. She realized that her judgment had been incomplete and that she had much to learn. The future seemed uncertain, but for the first time it also seemed full of possibility. She knew that the journey would continue, that challenges and dangers would appear, and that the lessons of trust, courage, and kindness were only beginning. With a quiet smile, she allowed herself to hope that humans could be allies, friends, and even teachers of qualities she had not yet fully understood. Her mind and heart were open, ready for the days to come. The morning sun rose gently over the distant village, casting golden light across the repaired fields and glowing rivers. Princess Leora stepped outside her temporary quarters, feeling the cool air against her skin. She stretched and watched the villagers move about, tending to their homes and children with energy and care. The previous day had left her both exhausted and amazed. The selflessness of the human named Evan, and the cooperation among the villagers, had impressed her deeply. She had once believed that humans were greedy and selfish, but every action she had witnessed had begun to challenge that belief. She realized that her judgment had been based on stories and assumptions rather than experience. Evan was already awake, organizing the distribution of healing supplies. His calm voice carried over the village as he instructed the villagers on how to use energy crystals to purify water and heal minor injuries. He moved from person to person with patience and care, never showing frustration or fatigue. Leora followed quietly, observing every gesture and decision. She noticed how he treated everyone equally, listening to their concerns and answering questions with kindness. It was clear that his wish had not been for himself but for the well-being of others. Leora felt a growing admiration for him, though she kept it hidden behind her usual composed expression. The Fox Princess could not help but reflect on her own upbringing. She had been taught to value discipline, knowledge, and caution, and she had always been wary of outsiders, especially humans. She had trusted the stories she had heard about human greed and selfishness, but now she understood that individuals could be very different. Some humans might act out of self-interest, but others could be courageous, kind, and selfless. Leora felt the walls around her beliefs begin to crumble. She realized that she had much to learn about people she had never met and worlds she had never explored. The morning tasks continued as the village worked together. Leora assisted in repairing homes that had been damaged in the storm, using her foxfolk abilities to lift heavy beams and stabilize walls. She was impressed by how humans and aliens collaborated, sharing skills and knowledge. Evan remained at the center, coordinating efforts and providing guidance. His attention to detail and his care for the villagers were remarkable. He never demanded recognition or reward, only focusing on helping those in need. Leora felt her admiration deepen, and she could not deny the growing respect she felt for this young human. As the day progressed, a challenge arose. One of the village bridges, which connected the main settlement to the fields, showed signs of collapse. The villagers grew anxious, knowing that the bridge was essential for transporting supplies and maintaining communication between different parts of the village. Leora watched as Evan calmly assessed the situation. He examined the structure carefully, pointing out weak spots and suggesting a plan for reinforcement. He invited the villagers to participate, ensuring that everyone had a role. Leora observed how he motivated the villagers with encouragement rather than commands. His leadership was gentle but effective, earning their trust naturally. Leora decided to join him in repairing the bridge. As she worked alongside the villagers, she felt a sense of unity and purpose she had never experienced before. She realized that helping others could be fulfilling in ways that knowledge and power alone could not provide. Evan worked tirelessly, moving heavy beams, tying supports, and demonstrating techniques to ensure the structure would be safe. The villagers followed his guidance, their confidence growing with each step. Leora could see the bond forming between humans, foxfolk, and other species. She felt a quiet pride in being part of this moment. By late afternoon, the bridge stood firm and secure. The villagers cheered, expressing their gratitude to both Evan and Leora. Leora noticed the smiles on their faces and the relief in their eyes. She felt a warmth in her heart, realizing that her presence and assistance had made a difference. She also realized that humans were capable of inspiring hope and cooperation through kindness rather than fear or power. Evan looked at her and nodded, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared efforts. Leora returned the gesture with a small smile, feeling a connection that went beyond words. As the sun began to set, a gentle wind blew across the village, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and fresh earth. Leora walked with Evan to a small hill overlooking the settlement. From this vantage point, she could see the repaired homes, the flowing rivers, and the villagers moving about their evening routines. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction and understanding. The village was not only surviving but beginning to thrive, thanks to the combined efforts of humans, foxfolk, and other species working together. Evan spoke softly, breaking the silence. "The villagers are resilient," he said. "They have faced challenges before, and they will face more in the future. But with cooperation and care, they can overcome anything." Leora listened carefully, feeling the truth in his words. She realized that his first wish had not only provided aid but had also demonstrated the strength of empathy and selflessness. She understood that actions motivated by genuine concern could create bonds that stories and assumptions could never achieve. The evening continued with quiet reflection. Leora helped distribute food and supplies to families, ensuring that everyone had what they needed for the night. She spoke with children, teaching them simple energy techniques to heal minor cuts and bruises. She noticed the curiosity and excitement in their eyes, and she felt a sense of fulfillment she had not anticipated. Evan moved among the villagers with the same calm dedication, answering questions, offering guidance, and providing comfort. Leora realized that leadership and kindness could be expressed in many ways, and that humans were capable of embodying these qualities fully. As night fell, the village glowed softly under the light of energy crystals. Leora stood quietly, watching the peaceful scene. She thought about the journey so far and the lessons she had learned. Her belief that humans were greedy had been shattered, replaced by a new understanding of the diversity and complexity of individuals. She realized that trust and cooperation could lead to remarkable outcomes, and that kindness could inspire hope in ways she had never imagined. During the quiet hours, Leora walked to a small garden near the village center. She reflected on her own life, the teachings of her mother, and the stories she had been told. She recognized that her assumptions had been incomplete and that her perspective had grown richer through experience. She thought about Evan and the example he had set, and she felt a deep respect for his selflessness. She understood that true strength was not measured by power or wealth, but by the ability to care for others and act with integrity. Leora returned to the village center, where a small fire had been lit to provide warmth and light. Villagers gathered around, sharing stories of their experiences and expressing gratitude for the help they had received. Leora listened, feeling the connection between people grow stronger with every word. She realized that cooperation, empathy, and mutual respect could create a community that was resilient and thriving. She felt proud to be part of this transformation and understood that humans, when guided by genuine intention, could embody these qualities beautifully. Evan approached Leora quietly. "You have done well today," he said. "Your help has made a real difference." Leora felt a small warmth in her chest. She nodded, understanding that his words were not meant to praise but to acknowledge the shared effort. She realized that appreciation and respect could be expressed without ego or expectation, and that true leadership involved recognizing the contributions of others. The night continued with quiet observation. Leora watched the villagers as they prepared for rest, ensuring that children were safe and families had what they needed. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction and understanding. The village was no longer a place of despair but a place of hope, built through cooperation and care. She realized that Evan's first wish had not only provided aid but had also created a model for how humans and other species could work together in harmony. As Leora walked back to her quarters, she reflected on the events of the day. She recognized that her beliefs had been challenged in profound ways. Her judgment of humans as inherently greedy had been replaced by an understanding of their potential for kindness, courage, and selflessness. She felt a growing admiration for Evan and for the villagers, and she understood that true character was revealed through actions, not stories. Leora finally settled in her quarters, feeling the quiet calm of the night. She thought about the days ahead, knowing that challenges and opportunities would continue to arise. She also knew that her perspective had shifted, and that she was now open to learning from humans and other species. She understood that the universe was complex and full of surprises, and that her own growth depended on experience, observation, and reflection. Before closing her eyes, Leora looked out at the glowing village below. She felt a sense of hope and possibility that she had never known. She realized that trust, empathy, and cooperation could create lasting change, and that humans were capable of embodying these qualities fully. She felt ready for the days ahead, knowing that the journey with Evan and the villagers would continue to teach her valuable lessons about courage, kindness, and the power of selfless action. The village woke to a quiet morning, the soft light of dawn reflecting on the repaired homes and glowing rivers. Princess Leora stepped outside her quarters, stretching lightly as she observed the villagers already at work. Some tended to crops, while others repaired small buildings or prepared meals. Leora felt a sense of calm, thinking the village was finally safe. Yet she knew the universe often brought unexpected challenges, and her instincts told her to remain alert. Evan was already moving among the villagers, checking supplies and ensuring that everyone had enough food and energy crystals to continue their work. His calm presence gave confidence to the villagers, who relied on his guidance for safety and efficiency. Leora followed him silently, noting the way he spoke to each person with patience and kindness. Every interaction carried respect, every gesture showed care. She reflected on how far her understanding of humans had grown. Her judgment of greed and selfishness had been replaced with admiration and trust. She still remained cautious, knowing that actions in times of danger could reveal true character. The quiet morning was broken by a sudden alarm from the outskirts of the village. Leora and Evan rushed toward the source, accompanied by several villagers. From the hilltop, they could see a group of raiders approaching. They moved swiftly, their ships dark and menacing, carrying weapons and supplies that did not belong to them. Leora's heart raced as she observed the danger. She instinctively reached for her foxfolk abilities, preparing to shield the village if necessary. Evan did not panic. Instead, he assessed the situation carefully, noting the number of raiders and the vulnerabilities of their approach. The raiders landed near the village edge, moving quickly to seize the remaining supplies. Villagers scattered, some hiding, others trying to protect what they could. Leora felt a surge of anger and fear, but she focused on her training. Her tail moved in swift, precise motions, and her silver markings glowed faintly with energy. She created barriers to protect the villagers, lifting them above the ground and away from danger. Evan moved among the people, directing them to safe positions while simultaneously organizing defenses. His calm leadership inspired courage in the villagers, who began to act with coordination rather than panic. Evan spoke loudly, giving instructions with clarity. "Protect the supplies," he said. "Keep the children safe. Use the energy crystals for barriers and healing." Leora observed how his words carried authority without dominance. He led not by demanding obedience but by guiding through example. She felt admiration for him deepen as she watched his calm courage in the face of danger. The raiders tried to breach the village defenses, but Evan and Leora worked together to counter them. Leora used her agility and energy manipulation to create shields around the villagers, while Evan organized teams to repair weakened structures and deploy energy barriers. The villagers, inspired by their leaders, fought with determination to protect their homes. Leora was struck by the strength of cooperation and the bravery of ordinary people when guided by someone who cared. During the conflict, a raider attempted to seize a container of healing crystals. Leora acted immediately, intercepting the raider with swift movement and creating a protective energy field around the supplies. Evan joined her, calmly disarming the raider without harming him unnecessarily. Together, they worked seamlessly, combining skill, strategy, and care. Leora realized that true courage was not only about physical strength but also about protecting others and minimizing harm wherever possible. The fight continued for hours, but Evan's planning and leadership kept the villagers safe. He anticipated the raiders' moves, adjusting defenses and guiding people to secure positions. Leora noticed that he never faltered, never hesitated, and never acted out of fear or self-interest. Every decision he made prioritized the well-being of others. She began to understand that his first wish had not been a single act of kindness but a reflection of his character. He consistently acted with selflessness, courage, and wisdom. At one point, a small group of children became separated from the main group, trapped near a weakened bridge. Leora's heart raced as she ran to them, creating a temporary barrier to shield them from danger. Evan followed, guiding her actions and ensuring that the barrier held. Together, they safely escorted the children back to the village center. Leora realized that courage was often about taking responsibility and acting decisively to protect those who could not protect themselves. She felt a growing respect for Evan and for the strength he inspired in others. As the battle progressed, Leora observed the raiders retreating after realizing that the village would not be easily overtaken. Their ships lifted off, leaving the villagers unharmed but shaken. Leora took a deep breath, feeling the tension slowly leave her body. Evan moved among the villagers, checking for injuries and offering comfort. He did not boast or take credit, he simply ensured that everyone was safe and cared for. Leora felt a quiet pride in witnessing this display of selflessness and leadership. After the danger had passed, the villagers gathered to assess the damage and repair what was needed. Leora and Evan worked side by side, helping rebuild structures, reinforce barriers, and restore energy systems. The villagers followed their example, showing renewed determination and unity. Leora noticed how the experience had strengthened the bonds among them. Cooperation, trust, and care had transformed fear into courage and despair into hope. She realized that the true power of a community came from shared responsibility and empathy, rather than from strength alone. That evening, as the sun set over the village, Leora stood on the same hill where she had reflected before. She looked down at the settlement, now secure and slowly returning to normal activity. She thought about the events of the day and the lessons she had learned. Evan's first wish had not only provided aid but had also demonstrated courage, selflessness, and the ability to inspire others. Leora understood that humans could act with integrity and bravery, and that one individual's actions could profoundly influence many lives. Evan approached quietly, his expression calm yet thoughtful. "You did well today," he said softly. "Your abilities helped protect the village and its people." Leora felt a warmth in her chest at his words. She realized that recognition was not always necessary for motivation, but acknowledgement could strengthen trust and connection. She nodded, understanding that their partnership had grown stronger through the trials they had faced together. The villagers held a small gathering to express gratitude for the protection and aid they had received. Leora listened as they spoke of their fear during the attack and their relief afterward. She noticed the pride and courage in their eyes, the way they had come together despite the threat. She understood that the experience had strengthened not only the village but also herself. She had witnessed the true character of humans and the power of leadership guided by care and empathy. As night fell, the village glowed softly under the light of energy crystals and lanterns. Leora walked through the streets, observing families preparing for rest and children playing safely once again. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment and understanding. The events of the day had shattered her old belief that humans were inherently greedy. She saw courage, selflessness, and care demonstrated in action, not just words. She realized that true character was revealed in moments of challenge, and Evan had exemplified this perfectly. Leora returned to her quarters, reflecting on everything she had experienced. She thought about her previous assumptions and the stories she had believed. She understood now that individuals should be judged by their actions and intentions, not by stereotypes or hearsay. Humans, like any species, had the capacity for both good and bad, but Evan had shown her the best qualities a person could have. She felt a quiet admiration and a growing desire to learn more about them and their ways. Before resting for the night, Leora stepped to a small balcony overlooking the village. The stars shimmered in the clear sky, reflecting in the repaired rivers and glowing fields. She thought about the journey that had brought her here and the lessons she had learned. Trust, courage, and selflessness were qualities that transcended species and culture. She realized that her understanding of the universe had grown richer, and that her heart had opened to new possibilities. Evan joined her, standing silently beside her. "The village is safe," he said quietly. "They are rebuilding, stronger than before." Leora looked at him, feeling the truth of his words. She understood that his first wish had been more than a request for aid, it had been a demonstration of character, a lesson in courage, kindness, and leadership. She felt gratitude and respect, realizing that the bond formed between them and the villagers was built on trust and shared purpose. As the night deepened, Leora finally allowed herself to rest. She thought about the days ahead, knowing that further challenges and lessons awaited. She felt prepared to face them, guided by the experiences she had gained and the understanding she had developed. Evan's courage and selflessness had shattered her old beliefs, and she felt ready to embrace new knowledge and new relationships. The journey was far from over, but Leora knew that she had learned an invaluable truth: true strength and character were measured not by selfish desire but by the willingness to protect, serve, and inspire others. With a quiet sense of peace, she closed her eyes, knowing that the future held both challenges and opportunities. The village had survived the threat, and the lessons of courage, empathy, and cooperation would endure. Leora felt her heart open to humans and other species alike, understanding that kindness, trust, and bravery could create bonds that transcended old assumptions. She drifted into sleep, ready to face the next stage of her journey, confident that she had discovered something far greater than she had ever imagined. The first light of dawn spilled across the village, casting soft gold and pink shades over the repaired homes and glowing rivers. Princess Leora stood quietly on a hill, observing the villagers as they moved about their morning tasks. The energy of cooperation and hope filled the air. Leora felt a sense of calm and satisfaction, knowing that the village had not only survived but was beginning to thrive. She reflected on the journey that had brought her here, the human named Evan, and the lessons she had learned. Her old beliefs about humans had been completely transformed. She had seen courage, selflessness, and kindness firsthand, and she understood now that every being had the power to choose their path. Evan approached her with a gentle smile, carrying a small container of supplies for the day. "Good morning," he said softly. Leora nodded, returning the smile. They had grown comfortable working together, understanding each other's strengths and abilities without the need for many words. Leora realized that trust had been built between them, not through grand declarations but through shared experience and care. She felt gratitude for his presence and for the example he had set. The morning began with the usual tasks. Leora helped villagers prepare fields for planting, teaching them foxfolk energy techniques that could accelerate growth without harming the soil. Evan organized the transport of supplies and repaired damaged tools. The villagers worked diligently, motivated by the guidance and support of their leaders. Leora observed the harmony of the group, amazed at how humans and foxfolk could collaborate so naturally. She understood that mutual respect and shared purpose could overcome differences in species and culture. During the afternoon, a traveling scout arrived with news from a nearby settlement. They reported a shortage of food supplies caused by a recent storm. The village elders worried that their resources might be insufficient to help both communities. Leora and Evan listened carefully, considering options. Leora suggested using energy techniques to restore and enhance crop growth, while Evan proposed organizing a transport system to deliver aid efficiently. Together, they developed a plan that combined their abilities and the villagers' efforts. The work required careful coordination and teamwork. Leora used her knowledge of energy manipulation to purify water and accelerate plant growth, while Evan guided groups of villagers in transporting food and supplies safely. The villagers responded eagerly, showing skill and dedication as they worked under their leader's guidance. Leora noticed the courage and determination of ordinary people, their willingness to act selflessly for the benefit of others. She understood that true heroism was not only in grand gestures but also in small, consistent acts of care. As the day progressed, Leora observed Evan interacting with the villagers. He never demanded recognition, never insisted on authority, and always acted with patience and understanding. He encouraged ideas, listened carefully, and acknowledged contributions without showing pride. Leora realized that his first wish had been only the beginning. Every action he took reinforced the principles of empathy, courage, and selflessness. She felt admiration growing in her heart, not just for him, but for the potential of humans to act with integrity. In the late afternoon, a small group of children approached Leora and Evan with a problem. Their water supply had been damaged during the storm, and they needed guidance to restore it. Leora knelt beside them, teaching them how to use energy crystals safely to purify the water. Evan assisted patiently, explaining the steps and ensuring the children understood the process. The children listened carefully, their faces lit with concentration and excitement. Leora felt a quiet joy in helping them learn and grow. She understood that education and guidance could empower others to act with responsibility and care. The evening brought a moment of quiet reflection. Leora and Evan walked along the river that glowed softly in the light of the energy crystals. The village behind them moved peacefully, villagers preparing meals, caring for children, and repairing small structures. Leora spoke softly, breaking the silence. "I never imagined humans could be like this," she said. "Selfless, brave, and caring." Evan nodded gently. "Some are," he said. "Some are not. But every individual has the choice. What matters is what we choose to do." Leora thought about her life before arriving at the village. She had been cautious, reserved, and quick to judge humans based on stories and assumptions. Now she understood that true understanding came from experience, observation, and interaction. She realized that she had grown, not only in knowledge but in heart. The fear and distrust she had carried for so long had been replaced with respect, curiosity, and hope. She felt gratitude for the journey and for the human who had shattered her old beliefs. As night fell, the village glowed under the soft light of energy crystals and lanterns. Leora joined the villagers in a small gathering to celebrate the day's work. Music filled the air, soft melodies played on simple instruments blending human and foxfolk traditions. Children danced, elders shared stories, and families expressed gratitude for the safety and prosperity they now enjoyed. Leora observed the joy and unity of the community, realizing that cooperation, empathy, and shared purpose could create lasting harmony. Evan stood beside her quietly, watching the celebration with a gentle smile. Leora turned to him, feeling a deep sense of connection. "Your first wish changed everything," she said softly. Evan shook his head. "I did not do it alone," he said. "The villagers, you, everyone contributed. I only guided and helped." Leora realized that his humility was as remarkable as his courage and selflessness. He did not seek praise or recognition, his purpose was to help others succeed. The following days were filled with continued work and learning. Leora and Evan traveled to nearby villages, delivering aid and teaching techniques that improved crop growth, healed injuries, and restored energy systems. Each community they visited responded with gratitude and cooperation. Leora saw how humans, when acting with intention and care, could inspire unity and resilience across species and worlds. She felt her understanding of humans deepen further. Her old belief in greed had completely vanished. She now saw humans as capable of extraordinary compassion and courage. One morning, while resting on a hill after delivering supplies to a distant settlement, Leora spoke to Evan about her journey. "I judged humans too quickly," she said. "I thought they were all greedy and selfish. Now I see that true character is shown through actions and choices, not stories or assumptions." Evan nodded gently, understanding in his eyes. "You are right," he said. "Everyone has the choice to act with care or selfishness. It is what we do that defines us." Leora felt a sense of clarity and peace. She realized that her experiences had transformed her perspective and her heart. She had learned to trust, to observe without prejudice, and to act with empathy. She understood that assumptions and fears could limit understanding, but courage, selflessness, and cooperation could create lasting change. She felt a deep respect for humans and other species who acted with integrity and care. The journey back to the village after the final delivery was filled with quiet reflection. Leora and Evan walked together through fields restored by their efforts, observing the thriving communities they had helped. Leora felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She understood that her role as a princess extended beyond leadership within her own species. She could learn from others, collaborate across cultures, and use her knowledge and abilities to inspire positive change. She felt a growing sense of purpose and responsibility. When they returned to the village, the community gathered to honor the completion of their restoration and aid efforts. Leora addressed the villagers with humility and gratitude. "Together," she said, "we have rebuilt not just homes and supplies, but trust, courage, and hope. We have shown that cooperation and care can overcome even the greatest challenges." The villagers cheered, expressing their appreciation and admiration. Leora felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that their combined efforts had created lasting impact. Evan stood beside her, smiling quietly. Leora realized that their partnership had become a model for collaboration and understanding across species. Through his first wish and the actions that followed, he had demonstrated qualities that transcended culture and species. Leora understood that trust, courage, and selflessness could inspire communities to work together, overcome obstacles, and create harmony. As night fell, Leora and Evan walked quietly to a hill overlooking the village. The stars reflected in the rivers and fields, casting soft light across the thriving community. Leora spoke softly. "Thank you," she said. "For everything. For showing me the truth about humans. For teaching me what courage and selflessness mean." Evan nodded. "And thank you," he said. "For learning, for helping, and for trusting." Leora smiled, feeling the depth of their shared experience. She understood that learning from others, observing their actions, and embracing empathy could transform understanding and relationships. In the quiet night, Leora reflected on the journey that had begun with a single wish. That wish had shattered her old beliefs, revealed the true character of a human, and created lasting change for a village and beyond. She realized that the universe was full of surprises, lessons, and opportunities to grow. Trust, courage, and empathy were not bound by species or culture. They were qualities that anyone could choose to embody. Leora felt her heart open fully to new understanding, new experiences, and new connections. The following morning, Leora stood with Evan as the villagers continued their work and life returned to a peaceful rhythm. She looked at the thriving settlement and felt hope for the future. She knew that humans, when acting with integrity and kindness, could inspire cooperation and positive change across the galaxy. She had learned to observe, to trust, and to embrace new experiences. Her heart was no longer guarded by old assumptions but open to the possibilities of understanding and friendship. As Leora and Evan prepared to leave the village and continue their journey, she felt a quiet certainty. Her first impressions of humans had been shattered, replaced by respect, admiration, and hope. She understood that courage, empathy, and selflessness were qualities that transcended species, and she was determined to carry these lessons forward. The universe was vast and full of opportunity, and Leora felt ready to explore it with an open heart and a mind ready to learn. The sun rose higher, casting warm light across the village. Leora looked at Evan, smiling softly. "Let's go," she said. "There is more to see, more to learn, and more to help." Evan nodded, his expression calm and confident. Together, they stepped forward, leaving the village behind but carrying its lessons and the bonds they had created. Leora knew that her journey was only beginning, but she felt certain that her heart had been changed forever. And so, the fox princess who once believed humans were greedy had learned the truth through a single wish. She had seen courage, kindness, and selflessness in action. She had learned to trust, to observe, and to act with empathy. Her journey had transformed not only her beliefs but also her heart, showing that understanding and compassion could bridge worlds, species, and hearts. Princess Leora walked forward with hope, courage, and a heart open to the universe. She was ready for whatever adventures lay ahead, carrying the lesson of the first wish that had shattered old beliefs and revealed the extraordinary potential of kindness, cooperation, and selflessness.